All right, after 22 years of unbroken democratic governance in Nigeria, the country is still grappling with stability in the political parties. Well, this has greatly affected the growth of democracy in the country. Georgina Ndokwe Ezayinka reports.
The existence of well-structured and functioning political parties is very crucial for the growth of democracy. In Nigeria, it appears the parties are still evolving. In the last 22 years, internal crisis has worsened. For the governing All Progressives Congress, to the main opposition People's Democratic Party and the smaller parties, like the All Progressives Grand Alliance (APGA), Action Alliance, and African Democratic Congress, the story is the same. Lack of internal democracy caused the APC a spot on the ballot in the 2019 governorship, National Assembly and State Assembly elections in Rivers and Zamfara states. Due to the failure of internal democracy, political parties now resort to the courts to resolve their internal issues. The litigations that have followed the primaries from the governorship election in Anambra State are yet to be resolved. The governing party is now caught in a legal dilemma over the status of the current interim leadership led by Governor Mai Mala Buni. The resignation of 7 national officers of the main opposition People's Democratic Party is the latest crisis in a chain that has led to the defection of at least 3 governors. This is in spite of the work of the Reconciliation Committee led by former Senate President Bukola Saraki. Same attempt is also being made to resolve differences in the All Progressives Congress. In his assessment, former INEC Chairman Atahiru Jega called on Nigerians not to vote either of the 2 major political parties into power in 2023 for their inability to help Nigeria attain political growth in the past 22 years. Ahead of the 2023 general elections, will the parties be able to put their houses in order? Georgina Ndokwe Ezayinka, Arise News.
Oh, Georgina, that report quite superb. But let's bring in the chairman, that's the national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, Dr. Leonard Nzenwa. And of course, much later, we'll have Arise Deputy News Director join us as well. In the meantime, Leonard, thank you so much for joining us tonight. But before we get into all the nitty-gritty as to all of the internal wranglings that we're seeing, especially from major political parties, let's talk about your group, the Inter-Party Advisory Council. What is your role really in terms of ensuring that, parties are able to stay together and stand stronger?
Okay, we need to understand that the political party is a composition of human beings. And when you have human beings in a particular setting, you are bound to have contestations. You're bound to have disagreements. And some of these disagreements can be functional, it might not be dysfunctional. The point being made is that the political party is an institution that is populated by human beings. And so we need to understand very clearly that these are human beings that make up political parties. If you understand it from this particular context, you will understand that there are bound to be frictions, misunderstanding, and miscommunication. Now, how would the political party get itself or its act together to ensure that all the members are in one page? One of the key things that the Inter-Party Advisory is to set up reconciliation committees and also to mediate between one political party and the other. You need to understand that a party has its constitution. A party has its own rules and regulation. But in the larger fold of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, you are not going to impose the decision of the council on the political parties. What we do is to find mediation, mechanism, and internal arrangement to see how we can talk to all the stakeholders within the political party to say, look, what you're doing is right, what you're not doing is right, is good. So the point being made essentially is that the Inter-Party Advisory Council have waded into most of these problems in political parties, and we're still talking on a way forward on how the parties would be, peaceful and amicably. That's exactly what we're doing.
All right. Leonard, would you agree that stability among political parties is now what one could call a mirage, and that this is doing more harm than good to democracy?
To some extent, I will agree with you that it is tasking, but it's not a mirage. It is possible. Now, you need to understand political development takes a lot of time to shape up. Most times we use the United States system or the American presidential system or what obtains in advanced countries as a basis of comparison. If we use that as a basis of comparison, we've not done too badly. What I can tell you, specifically as it relates to internal party democracy, it's been slow, it's been unencouraging, it's been energy sapping, it's been a mixed grill of the bad, the good, and
The ugly.
Now, but having said that, we've got some quick wins. We've got also some quick wins that have helped us in the past. But we need to also distinguish very clearly, because when we rope this all together, we need to understand there is no big party or small party. What you have is old party and the newer party. Now, the PROP, among the whole political parties, is the oldest political party we have around. Not even the PDP, not even the APC, as we speak. Now, specifically to your question, do we say it's a mirage? It's not a mirage. You're dealing with human beings. And when you do with human beings who have also their preferences, what they like, what they dislike politically, you need to understand that you cannot cage them. For instance, we see what is playing out in PDP today. The people are aggrieved, and the aggrieved is based on a function of certain factors within the system.
PDP, APC,
I'm just because of the news background you brought. That's why I'm just saying that APC as well. Now, the point we're saying is this: it's a good thing for the political system because we're having political osmosis. It is revolving, it is changing, and it's for better for every person. Now, we're seeing very clearly that it is possible for the smaller parties to win in Anambra, which is not even thinkable. So, for this, democracy is an ongoing thing. It's a work in progress. Nobody in this world believed that by January 6th of this year, that the Capitol Hill will be attacked or invaded. Yeah. You understand? So it's part of, it's globally.
And then the fallout, the game that is being played.
Exactly, a lot of resentment. So it is a function of people activism. People are getting involved in politics in such a wider ramifications that when they want to hold their destiny on their hands, and everybody's involved. And so you find a lot of expansion. You find expansion within the political system. Those who hitherto had not been involved in politics are wanting to come in to take a space in there. And so we are going to see a whole lot of political osmosis. We are going to see a lot of changes and rejigging, alignment and realignment. I think it's very good for the system.
Of course, we need to head for a break now, but when we come back, we'll talk about why it's so difficult to really resolve issues internally within the parties, and of course, how it's really affecting our democracy. But of course, let's head for this quick break. But when we return, we'll continue our conversation here on Arise Newsnight.
All right, we're still talking about the fact that political parties in Nigeria are yet to are grappling with what you will call stability. And we still have in the studio here with us the national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, Dr. Leonard Nzenwa. I don't know whether the news director, deputy news director, Arise News has joined us. Tobi Soniyi, if you've joined us, we'll get to you in a while. Yes. I think he's there. He's joined us. All right, Leonard. Across all the states, the congresses of the APC was marred by violence and accusations of imposition of candidates. What do you make of this?
It's basically lack of internal party democracy. That's what it is. You cannot give what you do not have. That's essentially what we are. Now, if I may extend Joseph's pre-Badal theory on Nigerian politicians and all that, where he says the Nigerian political life is characterized by and dominated by corruption. Now, you have to look at I keep on saying you have to look at the individuals. We are not coming from the moon. We are all coming from the nation called Nigeria. It's what we have that we give out. And so, we've got to understand that while we're having all these challenges, lack of internal party democracy is one. The leadership structure of political parties, the ownership structure of political parties, the recruitment process of leadership for political parties, and as well the excessive monetization of political parties. Now, what do I mean by this? A situation where political parties are supposed to be mass-based, mass-owned, mass-funded, and people-oriented. But what we have found in our own environment is largely a club of individuals or a colony of individuals who will come together, establish political parties, and begin to take the name "I am owner of a political party." And this is a complete at variance with what obtains even in the democratic settings where we tend to pick from. You can never hear anybody in the United States of America telling you that he owns a political party, or you see somebody from somebody from the Republican tells you he owns or she owns the political party.
But they're beginning to call Trump's
Trump's
Republican.
Exactly. But you just come here, you just see somebody saying, I own this political party, I funded this political party. But let me tell you something, the history of this country. Ekwueme, the late Ekwueme, funded the PDP. As a matter of fact, he was one of those that actually made what PDP was at the end of the day. But Ekwueme never came out one day and said he owned that political party, even at all the resources he put in that political party. But what we are beginning to see now is the position, people who are positioning and projecting themselves as other political parties. And when you do that, what you do basically is a political party becomes a business for people, and that's what they use to eat.
And we're seeing that a lot really in the PDP with all the accusations going the way of the leadership of the party. Yeah. Let's bring in Tobi Soniyi right now. That's our Deputy News Director. And of course, let's talk about the fact that right now, yes, the court as it stands, that the Constitution of Nigeria says it is the party that is voted when, you know, an election happens. But of course, when people go to the polls, you and I know that we are voting for individuals who believe that can deliver. But because of all of this internal party wranglings, we see a lot of the times the court deciding for the people instead as to who becomes our leaders. Let's talk about the implication of this on our democracy.
Yeah, that is really very bad for our democracy, because the courts are not established to determine who wins an election. That is not the job of the judiciary. But when politicians cannot manage their own affairs, they have no choice but to allow the courts to intervene. But normally in a democracy, it is the people who determine who govern them. And therefore, politicians need to do things rightly and let among themselves, let play by the rule. They need to obey their own constitution. I mean, one of the problems is that they don't always obey the constitution they have drafted for themselves. By refusing to abide by their own constitution, they play into the hand of the judiciary. We remember what happened in Zamfara State, where all APC candidates that won the election were deprived, and PDP were declared the winner of the election. It was simply because they are not playing by their own constitution.
Let me continue with you, Tobi. Leonard, we're going to come back to you. Tobi, parallel congresses were held against party leadership directive. Why is it so hard for party or parties, if you like, to be able to harmonize their activities and conduct their affairs in peace?
Anambra comes to mind, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the problems is that some people believe the party belongs to them. There is no equal right within the party. Some people believe they have more power, they have more right than others. And in this process, they don't allow the process to go on as it should be. And also, too, they don't always have the courage to agree among themselves. There are simple things that they should agree on. I want to put that as greed. Members of political parties, because of their greediness and inordinate ambitions, they want to determine who wins the election. They are scheming themselves, they are positioning themselves before the election. This is why everybody wants to be chairman of the party, so that when it comes to the town to do primary, they will be the one controlling the system. But this is not what their constitution says. Like I said earlier, they have to, all the parties have well-written constitutions. All they need to do is to apply and abide by those rules. Things will go smoothly. But in essence, when somebody says, look, I'm the one funding the party, I should determine who becomes chairman, I should determine who becomes the secretary, other people feel aggrieved, and what's happened during that APC Congress is what we get. We have parallel Congress going on here and there. People are doing things the way they like. Governors want to control the party. Minister wants to control the party, as it is in the case of Kwara State.
Well, Tobi, we'll come back to you. But Leonard, let's come to you right now. Let me use your word. You said there's no small or big party. It's about old and new parties. And for a party like yours, which is relatively new, the AAC, you equally have your own internal crisis right there. But right now, not about the party and your crisis. Let's look at the fact that, you know, in all that is going on, if the political party, as a small unit, cannot be able to reconcile their differences internally, why should they be trusted by the masses to get elected when they get into that office, that they'll be able to, put everybody together and deliver on their promises? You
have a valid point. Well, the point you've made is very valid, very valid. Let me also make it very clear. I've always made this point that where you have people in one particular institution, whether it's a political party or an organization or even a family, you have contestations, and that contestations can be functional or can be dysfunctional. In my own political party, it was largely a disciplinary action that was taken against an individual, and that stands. Let the heaven come, let hell come, that stands.
And the court has been playing its own roles in your internal issues. The same thing was saying with even the older parties.
Exactly. The point I'm making is this. A political party is supposed to be an institution that is above, but because you are training or grooming leaders that are supposed to take the destiny of the nation at hand. It's not a joke, it's a big thing. But when you have a recruitment process where people think, what do I say in this term? You think maybe resources, you have money, you become a leader. The mistake being wealthy for leadership. Maybe they also believe that oratory or demagoguery is another thing for leadership. Or they believe your network is for leadership. Leadership is a skill you need to get. And you must have political skill to do this. So to your point, how do we get ourselves, our acts together in such a way that people begin to build confidence around us? And that is a work in the progress. It's not going to be achieved overnight. And this thing that is playing out now is very good. Now, if you notice, this trend is more tilted towards the older political parties as against the young political parties. That's what we're seeing. And it's a very clear example. Why not mentioning names? We understand the dynamics, the variables are all involved in this. Because human beings, do not forget, you have an economic system where there is no productive or rich sector. We need to be very straight about it. The rich sector is dead. The industries are dead. There are no jobs.
Well, there are jobs. There may not be enough. The
yes,
industries are there.
What I'm saying
when
is,
you say there are no industries, I beg to
Okay. What I'm saying, there are jobs. There are jobs. The industries are dead. Of course, it is the industries that brings out the job. Yeah. But we do not have such jobs in such large magnitude to absorb the quantum. They absorb the quantum of people are graduating from. And so you have a large space. People are looking for where they can ventilate their aspirations. People are coming out to show what they can do and not. So the political ecosystem is one area they think they can get that, because it is also a corridor where they are sent to power based on what has happened in Nigeria, that if you access political power and get to power, you get resources easier and quicker. So people are taking that as a very good example.
How do we begin to change that narrative? Tobi, if you get political power, you begin to get resources, but that's not even where I'm going to. You could contribute to that, but Leonard just said that training and programming leaders, and that's one where I will ask you, how does this now, all the things we're saying about the problems, the challenges the parties are having, rub off on the leadership of the nation, those who climb the corridors of power at the federal, the state, and the local government levels? Tobi.
Absolutely. The way our leaders emerge speak volumes of what they do when they get into office. If you want to become governor, for instance, you hijack the party, overrun everybody, become governor, it becomes very difficult to control such person. I think first we have to go back to the basics. We copy democracy, the American system. To some extent, we abandon, we jettison some part of it, but at least as far as party democracy is concerned, there are lessons that we can learn from them. For instance, every member of the party should be financial member. So that you have your right, you have your say. And then two, I think it should also be difficult for people to be jumping from one party to another. So that at least there will be some ideological difference. If you are a member of PDP, for instance, we should know what PDP stands for. It's not that you wake up tomorrow, you are in APC, when the people who voted for you believe they were voting for PDP. It shows that we are not very serious people. They don't take the voters very serious. We want people to go and register. And you register, you vote for someone in PDP, then you wake up, they tell you that same person has moved to APC. I'm sure when the next election comes, many people might even be discouraged to go out and vote. So there has to be a way to, I mean, people should not be jumping from one party to another. We have to make it difficult. I mean, there have to be legislation, maybe through the Ninth Amendment Act, that if you are elected under a party, you stay there and do the job for the people. I mean, we need to build confidence in people. We need to help ourselves to strengthen this democracy. But the way our politicians are running it, I'm sorry to say, a lot of people are discouraged to go into politics.
Well, Tobi, good place to leave the conversation. We'll have to say thank you so much for joining us too. You, Tobi, as well as Leonard Nzenwa, the national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council.